Hey everybody, Steven here. Today I have a video for some variations on dead bugs. So dead bugs are a contralateral pattern. People typically do these to improve core strength and stability. I use this for my medical exercise clients so that we can build intra-abdominal strength so that they can not only build up kind of their core, but their ability to maintain neutral spine, which is very, very important. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people have extreme cases of lordosis, which just means they're overarching their lower back. That has to do with the constriction with the thoracic spine or the upper back and the ribs. But with this, typically what I'll see is people might do it, but they don't know the scales or the progressions for it. So we're going to kind of run through some of those options that you'll have with this. Now, like I mentioned with creating neutral spine, what we want is that the spine is just neutral, it's in alignment, it's stacked, because if I'm going into that lordosis and I'm overarching my lower back like this, my vertebrae are being pushed forward, I'm putting a lot of pressure on my lower back. I'm also, as I start to do that, I'm tightening my psoas, which is a muscle that's going to come from kind of our mid-spine down to our femur and our iliacus. And all you need to know about those is if that's stretched out like that, it's pulling on my back more. So a lot of people that have back tightness, a lot of times are going to have tightness with their abs as well. I have separate videos for options that you can do with a lacrosse ball to kind of work that out via soft tissue work. And I'll make sure that it ends up in the description box so you can link to that video as well. But with this, if I'm lying on my back like this, neutral spine would be me bringing my back flat to the ground. A lot of people, if they're here, their back is arched, so they could put their hand through this. So what I want you to do is, if you're here, it's like bringing your belly button into the floor. I'm going to pull that in like this so that you can't do that. You'll notice that your hips tilt, because when I have that lordosis and that overarching lower back, you're actually creating a frontward or anterior pelvic tilt, meaning that my pelvis, if I'm here, it's just tilting forward like this, which is my back here. If I bring that in and back, that'll flatten, okay? So that's what we want to do on the ground. That's creating neutral spine. And then through this, your job is to maintain that through motion, okay? So once I'm here, I want to bring my legs up so that they're close to 90-degree angles, right? It's almost like I'm sitting in an invisible chair. My back is flat to the ground. Bringing my legs up will help with that. If you're really, really tight, especially through your legs, holding this in and of itself might be strenuous for you, okay? Because what you're going to do is bring your arms up like this. I usually have my thumbs up so that they're facing back like that. And then from here, typically a standard dead bug is moving opposites together. I'll stretch out like that, I'll touch, I'll come up, and then I'll go to the other side, just like that. And when I come here, I want to make sure, and even as I go through that motion, I want to make sure that I'm maintaining neutral spine and that I'm not arching my lower back to make the action happen. Let's start with one of the easiest ones, or not easiest, but a simpler variation of this that you could do. Let's say you're just not there, where you can't just extend out all the way. It's too strenuous. Or you're having to arch your lower back because you just don't have the strength yet. If I'm here, I can actually just do my arms, maintaining this, maintaining neutral spine, slow and controlled. I'll go up overhead, and I'll come up, and I'll go to the other side, and I'll come up, just like this. It takes strength just to hold my body in that position, just like this, as I extend like that, okay? Monitoring the fact that I need to make sure that I'm not going to arch my lower back to make that action happen. This would also be a test, just you coming up like this, as to how mobile your shoulder is, right? A lot of the stretching series that I have for your neck and shoulders are something that you can watch for how to improve this, because some people can't. If you can't go here, don't force your body to come all the way back like that. If you have to stop here because of limitations right now, stop right there. Do some soft tissue work, some stretching for the shoulders, and then slowly we'll see this improve. Because what will happen is if you're here and your shoulder's tight and you try and force that motion, you're going to arch your back in order to do that. And now my back is popped up. I don't have that neutral spine anymore, okay? So if I have to limit range of motion with that, that's okay. Next step after that, let's say you do that and you're good. In most of these, I'm doing 8 to 10 per side alternating, okay? But let's say I'm going to the next step with this, if I was to go here and I'm going to do opposites, I'll let the leg drop down, that foot will lightly tap while I go back. I'll come up and then I'll go to the other side. Just tapping my foot to the ground, coming up. So not extending out, I'm just tapping my foot down, maintaining neutral spine the whole time. You'll probably hear that constriction in my voice when I do that because I have to keep all of this tight. Intra-abdominal pressure, when I talk about that, we do this by trying to fill the belly with air through diaphragmatic breathing. Most people shoulder breathe, they just breathe with their upper body. If you're a singer, you already know you need the diaphragm when you're gonna sing, right? We need to basically fill this with air so we have internal support for our back, right? Not just us squeezing our stomach really, really tight, but literally filled with air because your midsection is a cylinder. And I don't want to just squeeze the actual cylinder. I want to make sure that there's pressure on the inside of it to give that internal support for it, okay? So we want to take that deep breath. And then as I'm doing this, I'm maintaining that pressure as I go through the motion, okay? So that would be the second step that you would do, right? So we did the shoulder one, progress to this. Now we're going to progress to just a regular dead bug. So from here, I would actually extend out, touch, and then come back in, go to the other side, right there. If you notice, when I do my leg, I don't typically go all the way straight. And I tell my clients, and this is just my personal preference, if I straighten my leg all the way out, my leg is going to flex and my back is going to tighten to counter the weight of my foot more so because I've just locked out the joint. If I keep a little bit of a bend there, I can anchor that from my abs now and not my quad and my back, okay? So I always like it so that when I do this, I don't fully extend the leg, okay? Just like that. So that would be a normal dead bug. Same thing, I'm usually doing 8 per side, so 16 total, right? Or 20 total, 10 per side, alternating. A lot of people have trouble too that when they start to go opposite, they'll notice that they'll do this. As you perform this more and more, your brain will kind of adjust to what you're doing because this is a contralateral pattern, just meaning opposites move together and not the same side. So I'm not doing this, right, for this, because opposites are moving together like this. You're asking the two hemispheres of the brain to communicate with each other, all right? So that's why it can be a struggle at first. It's kind of like rubbing your belly and patting your head at the same time because they're two different actions, right? You'll get better the more you do that. Same with this. So after we progress from there, the next one is that as I go out, I'm actually going to shoot my heel out. I'll touch my heel as I go out here, and then I'll come back up. Now, when I go out and I touch my heel, notice I still have a bend. I don't straighten my leg all the way out for this one, right? My personal preference, you'll probably find videos where other people want you to do that. I just think it's a little bit too risky, especially for somebody that I'm not there to coach them, right? I can't monitor and put my hand under here and make sure that they're keeping that pressure and that their erectors, the lower part of the back, is stable, right? So a little bit too risky, but if you want to do that, up to you. But for here, I'm shooting out, I'll touch the heel, boom, and then I'll come back in, other side, touch the heel, back in. I'm just lightly tapping. I'm not putting my weight down, right? Like tap, pull back, okay? I also don't want to rush through this. You won't see me going super fast. I want to maintain that stable position through that range of motion, right? So I want to create tension over time with this, okay? Now, the last one we're going to do is kind of a bonus. I'm going to steal this from my good buddy, Zach King. We did a video, he had this in there. I've been using this, and I think it's genius with what he's doing with it, which is we put the ball, stability ball. So you'll need a stability ball for this. If you don't have one, they're $10 at like a Walmart or a Target or something like that. Or you can just get it off Amazon. I'll put a link for one. But once I'm here, if I pull up, I have to push into this to maintain that. Because if I don't, it's going to push one way or the other, or it's just not going to really want to stay in this position, okay? For a normal one, mine has sand in it. But once I'm here, I have to push in on this, making my core automatically more active, and it puts me in a position where I really just by pressing, I'm creating a neutral spine, all right? But once I'm here, once I start to go with those opposites and I start to go out like this, and I pull in, and for this one I'm not doing the toe tap, I'm just doing a normal dead bug, and then I pull back in, especially once that opposite arm and leg leave the ball, I have to push harder here in order for this to not just shoot out to the side, right? So with that, I am now asking my body to be even more active than it would if I didn't have that on there and I was just doing a normal dead bug, right? So with this press, we're gonna make that more active, more strenuous, and you'll tell right away. And I would say for this one, if I get to the point where I'm actually now doing this variation of it, and you'll hear that my voice straining as I do this, and I'll shake with this one as well. This would be the last one that I would go to for this. There are other variations with bands that you can do. Some people do these with weights, right? You could progress slowly to that. Eventually I'll have those videos, but I think this is a good starting point that you can do. Because all the way up until you get to here, all those other ones, you don't need any equipment. You could be doing this at home. If we would make the core just more strong, right? More stable, and I'm talking about not just the superficial layers, not just your abs here and your obliques, I'm talking about the internal layers of the core, you're gonna have a stronger back, right? So we can actually allow that to create the support system for our lower back. Because right now, a lot of people, just because they don't have that strength, or the way they're standing with the lordosis, or maybe they have rounded shoulders, which is called kyphosis, they're standing in awkward positions, they're basically leaning on their back more, and they're asking their body to kind of sit like this in a chair all the time instead of using this midsection to hold them to stabilize their body. Because they're doing that, just that tension and that pressure over time is putting too much work and too much load on the lower back. The muscles are getting tired, right? We need these internal layers of the core to assist us in everyday function, and also taking a lot of that workload off the lower back. And like I said, specifically your erectors, two muscles that run along the lower back that help stabilize the spine as you're standing upright, as you're sitting, right? It's kind of like a brace, kind of like a support system for the spinal cord. So with this, I would typically do 2 to 3 rounds, depending on which one I'm gonna pick, right? Stick with one. Maybe I'm just at the first one, but eventually I'm going to progress to those other ones so that I know I'm making improvement, all right? A couple times a week include these. At least 2 times a week with these dead bugs is a good starting point. You're doing the 16 to 20 total, the 8 or the 10 per side alternating like we covered with this, for 2 to 3 rounds twice a week, all right? Start there, and then over time, and give it that time. It could take months. You're gonna see that slow progression. Hopefully with other things that you should be doing if you do have some type of lower spine issue, right? Now, if it's extreme, you need to be going and seeing a physical therapist or a chiropractor. You need to be doing that. You do not do these things in an acute state, meaning I'm throwing out my back and it still hurts. Don't do this, all right? Make sure that you're finally out of that acute state so that we can actually do these and you're not causing problems or agitations and you're just hurting yourself, all right? So this is some of the medical exercise that I do. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, any suggestions, anything like that, definitely hit me up in the comment sections, and I'll make sure that we get some of these other videos out to you as well, covering just some of the medical exercise stuff that you could be doing at home to kind of manage your medical condition. Now, if it's an extreme case, I do recommend that you find a medical exercise professional or a physical therapist, or somebody that knows kind of the physiology and the anatomy and all the things that they need to know in order to help you progress you to that next level, so that you're not potentially hurting yourself. Because like I said, it's hard. I'm not there to see what you're doing so I can make that adjustments for you. But like I said, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see. And thanks so much for watching. Check back for the next video. We're going to be covering some other stuff. Like I said, a lot of this medical exercise stuff, so that we can help anybody out there that has some type of problem where they just don't feel comfortable going to the gym just yet. We could start at home and then progress to that.